Welcome back to the Real Crime Diary, daily dose of crime, where we dive deep into the world of true crime, exploring the most chilling cases and their legal complexities. Today, we examine the final days for several notorious criminals set to be executed in September 2024. These stories highlight the gravity of capital punishment in America. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and visit therealcrimediary.com for exclusive crime stories and case updates. Let's start with Freddie Eugene Owens. In 1997, Owens, just 19 years old, took part in a robbery that resulted in the murder of convenience store clerk Irene Graves in Greenville, South Carolina. Owens later claimed the killing was part of a gang initiation. Chillingly, after the murder, he was heard boasting about the crime, a fact brought up during his trial. Freddie Eugene Owens. Scheduled execution, September 20th, 2024. Let's start with Freddie Eugene Owens. In 1999, Freddie Eugene Owens was sentenced to death for murder and armed robbery. The trial presented a grim depiction of gang violence, with Owens depicted as a remorseless young man steeped in criminal activity. His apparent lack of remorse seemed to solidify the jury's decision. Over 2 decades later, Owens remains on death row as his execution date looms. Throughout the years, Owens has filed multiple appeals, primarily focusing on claims of mental illness and intellectual disability. His defense argued that these factors severely affected his judgment and behavior at the time of the crime. Despite these arguments, the courts have consistently denied clemency. His execution, scheduled for September 20th, 2024, raises significant questions about mental health, justice, and the ethics of the death penalty. For decades, the issue of mental illness in the legal system has been passionately debated. Owens' case is no different. It forces us to grapple with tough questions about how the justice system should handle cases involving mental illness. Should Owens' mental illness claims have played a bigger role in his appeals? Does gang-related violence justify harsher punishments like the death penalty? After over 2 decades on death row, should the length of time waiting for execution influence your view on closure or justice? As we reflect on these questions, you might start to form your own opinions about the balance between guaranteeing justice for victims and ensuring fairness for the accused. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments below. Your perspective is invaluable as we navigate these complex issues together. Stay tuned for the next case as we continue to delve into the world of true crime and capital punishment, exploring how these powerful narratives shape our understanding of justice. In 2008, a crime shocked the nation to its core. Travis James Mullis, then a 21-year-old homeless man, committed a crime of such brutality that it left an indelible mark on the conscience of America. Mullis took the life of his own infant son, Elijah, in Galveston, Texas. He killed Elijah by stomping on his head, a method so cold and calculated that it defies comprehension. Following the horrific act, Mullis fled the scene, eventually turning himself in to authorities in Pennsylvania, where he provided a disturbing and detailed confession of the murder. During Mullis's trial in 2011, the jury was presented with the harrowing details of the crime. The prosecution argued that Mullis acted out of frustration and anger, portraying him as a man who saw no other way to rid himself of what he perceived as a burden. The harsh reality of the calculated nature of his crime and Mullis's own confession left little room for any defense. In a swift decision, the jury sentenced him to death, ensuring that Mullis would face the ultimate penalty for his heinous act. As is often the case with capital punishment, Mullis's legal team launched several appeals to overturn his death sentence, focusing primarily on his mental health. They argued that Mullis's mental state was not fully considered during the trial, presenting evidence that he had significant mental health issues. His legal team contended that these issues should have mitigated his culpability and perhaps led to a different sentencing outcome. Despite these arguments, Mullis's appeals were rejected at every turn. The question of mental health in capital punishment cases is undeniably complex. Should Mullis's mental health issues have played a larger role in the court's decision? As his execution date of September 24, 2024 draws near, these questions weigh heavily on the minds of many who follow his case. For our listeners, these questions are crucial for understanding the broader implications of capital punishment. Should mental health issues play a larger role in such extreme cases? Does Mullis' detailed confession eliminate any hope for leniency? How should child-related crimes be weighed when considering the death penalty? As you think about these questions, consider the broader ramifications of capital punishment in cases involving mental health and the ethical dilemmas they present. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave your comments and share your opinions. How do you feel about the intersection of mental health and capital punishment? Do you think Travis James Mullis's mental state should have influenced his sentencing more than it did? Your engagement can help shed light on these pressing issues and contribute to the ongoing debate about the ethics and application of the death penalty in America. Quick reminder, if you want to dive deeper into the cases we're discussing today, scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to the realcrimediary.com, where you can explore more true crime analysis, bonus content, and exclusive insights. Let us know your thoughts and join the conversation. The case of Marcellus Scott Williams is a chilling reminder of the complexities and potential fallibilities within the justice system, especially when it comes to capital punishment. Williams is scheduled to be executed on September 26, 2024, for the 1998 murder of Lisha Gale, a former St. Louis Post-Dispatch journalist, during a burglary in her home in Missouri. The prosecution's case largely rested on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of two informants, who claimed Williams confessed to the crime while they were incarcerated together. Williams' conviction and subsequent death sentence have been mired in controversy, not least because of the absence of physical evidence directly connecting him to the crime scene. The jury's decision in 2001 was heavily influenced by the testimonies, but post-trial developments have brought to light significant concerns about the integrity of these accounts. What makes his case particularly poignant is the role of DNA evidence, which has introduced doubt about Williams' guilt. In 2015, attorneys for Williams requested DNA testing on a knife used in the crime and other pieces of evidence. The results showed that the DNA on the weapon did not match Williams, further complicating the ethical landscape of executing an individual under such uncertain circumstances. Despite the DNA evidence suggesting that Williams may not have been the attacker, the courts have denied motions for a new trial, maintaining that circumstantial evidence and the testimonies still justify his guilt. This decision has sparked ethical debates and calls from various advocacy groups to halt the execution until all doubt can be resolved, a sentiment echoed by numerous legal experts and human rights organizations. For over 2 decades, Williams has remained on death row, a situation that raises numerous ethical and legal questions. Today, I want to pose the same challenging questions to you, our listeners. Should Marcellus Scott Williams' execution be paused until all the DNA evidence is fully analyzed and its implications thoroughly vetted by impartial experts? Given the heavy reliance on circumstantial evidence and the later discredited testimonies, is such evidence enough to warrant a death sentence when the more reliable DNA evidence suggests otherwise? How should the advancements in forensic technology affect older convictions and the finality of death sentences? Should modern scientific methodologies be given more weight than eyewitness testimony that is now shown to often be unreliable? These questions are not just about Williams, but also about the broader implications for justice and the role of scientific evidentiary methods in the legal system. It's essential that we as a society consider the potential for wrongful executions and the irreversible nature of such a penalty. Williams's case pushes us to think about the ethical responsibilities of a justice system supposedly built on the premise of innocent until proven guilty. How does this tenet hold up under the weight of new evidence that could exonerate a man slated for execution? I encourage you to leave your comments and thoughts on these questions. Your perspectives are invaluable as we continue to explore the myriad dimensions of true crime and its legal ramifications. And remember, for an in-depth dive into Williams' case and others like it, visit therealcrimediary.com. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Real Crime Diary Daily Dose of Crime. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts on these cases. Don't forget to like this episode, share it with fellow true crime enthusiasts, and subscribe for more weekly updates. For exclusive stories and documentaries, head over to therealcrimediary.com. We've got even more chilling cases lined up for you next week. Stay tuned and stay safe.